Hey everybody, so tonight for dinner I am making potato gnocchi with chicken piccata. I've already boiled the potatoes until tender and now I'm just gonna let them cool down till they're touchable, I guess, and then we're gonna take this and grate them because I don't have a potato ricer. So come along with me for the ride. After boiling 1 pound of russet potatoes, you're going to want to drain them and then let them cool down to be able to hold them in your hand without burning. Once that's able to be done, you're just going to take a paring knife and peel all of the potatoes so they no longer have the skin on them. Once all the potatoes are peeled, we're then going to get a cheese grater or a potato ricer and just pass through all the potatoes until they're all riced or grated, depending on what you're using. I personally don't have a potato ricer, so I just chose to use a cheese grater, and I used the bigger end for it just because the smaller grater side, as you can see on the opposite end of the side that I'm grating on, I attempted to and it just was an absolute disaster. So I chose to go on the bigger end, and if you can use the smaller side of yours and it's not as small as mine was, then go for it. Otherwise, this one, it works just as well. So you're just going to want to pass through all of your potatoes until they're all riced or grated, as I've already said. Then on a clean surface, you're going to want to measure out 1 cup of flour, and you're going to pour it right onto that clean surface. And this is where we're going to start to really mix in and prepare that gnocchi. And so after you dump out the flour onto the surface, you're also going to get a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I like to get a bench scraper and kind of just mix those both together, just so it's well incorporated and dispersed with each other. And from there, of course, I have a little OCD. If you can't tell, it has to be in a circle. But after that, you're going to take that 1 cup measuring cup and kind of dome out the flour and salt mixture, and you're going to want to dump your potatoes in. It's totally fine. They're not all going to fit, most likely, and that is fine. You don't even have to dome it out if you don't want to. Unfortunately, at this point, my camera died, but what you're going to want to do is take that bench scraper, and you're also going to add in 1 room temperature egg, and you're just going to kind of chop while mixing and incorporating the flour, salt, potatoes, and egg all together until it forms a nice dough ball, as you see right here. And then you're going to want to just set that dough aside and sprinkle a little bit of flour on that surface. Put the ball of dough back and separate it into smaller pieces. From there, you're just going to roll out the dough to about maybe, what would I say, 3/4 inch thickness probably, and you're gonna chop it into about 2 centimeter pieces or however big or small you want them to be. Then you're gonna set those aside onto a floured pan. I used a cookie sheet and just sprinkled some flour on it and just rolled them around each piece. You can also be fancy with it and rub them against the back of a fork and make those little nice designs. We'll just go with that because I can't think of the word right now, on the gnocchi. Or if you have a gnocchi paddle, which you can see in the bottom left of the screen, you can also roll them on that. I chose not to because I just didn't feel like it tonight, but it is what it is. So then you're just going to set those aside and leave them for about 20 minutes on that floured surface. At this point, we're going to get our chicken piccata ready. So you're going to want to take 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts and trim them of all the fat and nastiness that may be on them. I'm super picky with that. And so you're just going to clean them up. And then I forgot to do this in the video and originally, but I will tell you right now, you're going to want to butterfly them and then cut them in half. So once you have all of that done, you're going to season the chicken with some salt and pepper on both sides just to taste however much you want. And then after that, you're going to get a dish or container or whatever you want and dredge them in some flour. I use all-purpose flour, so I would do that as well. And you want to make sure you coat it very well on all sides of the chicken. And then once you're done, you're just going to want to shake off the excess, rub it all nice in so it's all stuck, and repeat the process until all of the chicken is done and it's all well coated. After coating the chicken in a large skillet over medium-high heat, you're going to want to melt 2 tablespoons of butter with about 2 to 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Once it's melted and starting to sizzle, you're going to add 2 pieces of chicken at a time and cook for 3 minutes on each side. You're not going to want to cook them fully through because you're going to put them back in the pan after making the piccata sauce. So right now you're just getting it mostly cooked. But once you cook them for 3 minutes on each side, you're going to remove and transfer to a plate and then add in 2 more tablespoons of butter and 2 more tablespoons of olive oil and repeat those steps with the next 2 pieces of chicken and brown both sides in the same manner. And then you're going to remove those from the heat and add the chicken to the plate that you put the previous chicken on. Once all of the chicken is cooked and put aside, in the same pan, you're going to add some lemon juice, about 1/3 of a cup. Add in 1/2 cup of chicken stock and 1/4 cup of brined capers that were rinsed off. You're going to want to put it back on the stove if you took off the pan and bring that mixture to a boil while also scraping up the brown bits from the pan for extra flavor. At this point, you can also taste the sauce and see if it needs any more extra seasoning, such as salt or pepper, or maybe even some extra lemon juice. And, make it your preference of how you want it to taste. Once you're done scraping up all the brown bits from the bottom, you're going to want to return the chicken to the pan and simmer it for 5 minutes. And throughout that 5 minutes, you're also going to want to keep flipping the chicken, not like continuously, but let it sit for maybe like a minute or 2 and then flip it and let it cook for the rest of those 5 minutes. And when you put the chicken back into the pan, also dump out whatever juices were left over on that plate. So after the 5 minutes, you're going to remove the chicken again back to the original platter that you had them on. And add in 2 tablespoons of butter to the sauce and whisk vigorously. From this point, your chicken piccata is pretty much done and you can serve the chicken and just pour the sauce over it. However, since I'm having potato gnocchi, I have a pot of salted water boiling already, which we'll get to in a sec. And I'm going to cook the gnocchi and then add it into the sauce to give it a little bit of the sauce flavor as well before serving. So as I said, I have salted water boiling already, and I'm going to add the gnocchi after it's sat for 20 minutes into the water, a handful at a time, making sure to be careful not to splash that boiling water up at me because it's extremely hot and no one likes to be burned. So from that point, you're going to want to cook it for just a little bit until pretty much they start to float. And once they're floating in the water, that's when you know that it is done and is cooked through. It doesn't take that long at all, so make sure you're keeping an eye on it. And also to make sure that it's not sticking to the bottom or to one another, you're going to want to stir as you're adding them in and as it's cooking. So it's a very much hands-on process just to make sure that they're not overcooked, that they're not sticking, and everything else. So as you can see, they're now floating at the top, and I'm just going to use a hold ladle so it drains out the liquid and put them directly into the same skillet that has the piccata sauce in it. And I'm just going to let those simmer in that for a couple minutes, not even that long. I'm just going to stir it up, make sure that they're all coated nicely in the sauce. And then from there, you're just going to put them on a plate and top it with a piece of chicken and dump the sauce on top. And this is what it will look like. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.